What high school conspiracy turned out to be true at your school? There was a girl freshman year who went missing. She ended up being found dead in the river. There were rumors that she was seen on a bridge with her boyfriend the day she went missing. Nothing was ever found, and they assumed it was suicide and accident. Fast forward 25 years and the boyfriend murdered his best friend of several decades, set a fire to cover it up, and went on the run. Couple days later he killed a woman at a rest stop in the bathroom to steal her car. They reopened the case about the high school girlfriend. That rumor was correct all along. He will be in prison the rest of his life. 4 years before I got to my high school there was a rumor that the admin assistant guy you went to when you got in trouble was doing drugs, selling drugs, and confiscating from students without turning over to the police. Well, about 5 years or so after I graduated he got busted a couple towns away for possession of cocaine with intent to distribute. That some of the teachers in our district are swingers with some of the doctors at our local hospital. That the married drama teacher was bonking the substantially younger art teacher. He swore blind that not only was it not true, anyone believing it was should report it to the head because it was so unprofessional. Then a few years later they had a baby. My old math teacher was a WWF wrestler. I recognized him from my childhood days channel surfing and couldn't find anything about him on Google. But I was so sure it was him I just asked. I was right, laughing my butt off. There were 3 seniors in different years who married teachers shortly after graduating. One was my former prom date. This happened at our school with the 50-year-old band director. The student was pregnant when she graduated. I attended a newly opened high school that apparently used to be a school for troubled kids. Someone told me there were padded rooms somewhere in the school, so I skipped lunch with a friend one day to walk the halls and find them. They did exist, but by next year they were renovated into offices and storage rooms. I thought that was pretty interesting and seriously wondered what went on there before it was turned into a normal high school. My history teacher tennis coach made moonshine and hosted cockfights in his barn. I ended up becoming friends with his son, and it was all true. 2 of the teachers hooking up on a Europe class trip, gone for a week. Came back and the rumors started. 2 weeks later a rumor started he got divorced. Last week of school they were spotted at a restaurant together. Looked them up a couple years after graduating. They are married. That my high school history teacher was putting whiskey in the 2-liter bottle of Pepsi he carried around every day. He was caught trying to buy liquor for some senior girls, and it resulted in a car chase we all watched. The police had to pull out the spike strips to catch him. It was rumored a staff member helped a student run away and slept with him. Unfortunately it was true. That there were tunnels under the school that led to a hidden pool. Confirmed by my father, who was a maintenance man for the school district. The tunnels were just utility tunnels. The pool is below the gym floor and was abandoned due to financial reasons. Rumor 9th grade kid had a hit list and was going to stab people. Rumor spread like wildfire and the school resource officer was alerted. Next day the bus the kid rode was singled out and isolated at the bus drop-off zone. The school resource officer, a local police officer, assistant principal, and the kid's grade counselor all boarded the bus. SRO searched the bag and found a kitchen knife. Kid was taken off the bus and arrested. I have no idea what happened after that. That our ed teacher slept with his students. He was attractive, young, friendly, etc. Then suddenly a rumor went around the school that he was sleeping with a 6th former aged 17, 18. He was suspended for a while, but then decided to leave after he was cleared of wrongdoing. He got a new job at my cousin's high school across town. He did it again there, got caught with another 17-year-old, and was fired shortly after. Due to budget cuts or something, all of our metal and woodwork shop machines were to be taken away and replaced with worse versions. The shop teachers and drama teachers that were in the building at the time didn't like this idea, so they hid all the machines in a false wall somewhere in the building. The people came to pick them up, and they told them that people had already come to pick them up, and that they were late. They did some looking around, and couldn't find the machines and gave up. A few years and one principal later they brought the machines back out from behind the walls. And that's how the smallest high school of our district with only around 450 students became the best school in the district to learn metal and woodwork. That our high school had an extensive network of underground tunnels and shelters left over from WWII. Sure enough, not long after I graduated, they were renovating one of the weight rooms that was either at basement level or partially underground, and they found an entire wild-off room stocked with supplies from the early Cold War era that no one had remembered. So maybe the supposed tunnel system under the football field was a bit of a stretch, but there definitely were hidden shelter stockroom areas that had been forgotten about. That one of the cheerleaders was dating one of the teachers in his 40s. A year after graduation, they got married and had a baby, still together 11 years later. We had a student teacher, so a reasonably attractive guy who was about 22 or 23. The rumor was that he was dating a girl in our class, a senior who was nearly 18. It turned out the rumor was wrong. He was dating her younger sister who was in 8th grade. Dance, theater, and music teacher had illegal boxing fights on the weekend. Automotive mechanics program in high school. The teacher was suspected to be doing drugs. In class often it looked like signs of withdrawal would take over and entirely consume him. It turns out he was doing drugs, because when he was let go we found needles and spoons under the seat of a school vehicle we had been working on. I hoped he's doing well. It was sad to see him deteriorate in a short amount of time. We had a math teacher who was homosexual. This was in the 80s, so more of a thing then. Well, he was still closeted, but it wasn't much of a secret. He and the health teacher had a brutal rivalry, talked shit about each other all the time, played pranks, hated each other, etc. The conspiracy was they were lovers, even though the health teacher was married. A few years after I graduated, I heard they were found out, and he had put a bullet through his brain. One of the history teachers cheating on his wife with one of the English teachers. They were going to get a divorce anyways, and the second they were divorced they started dating. One of the regular subs we had was a drug addict, which isn't too surprising in the area I live in, plus he was in his 70s. He let it slip to multiple classes that he enjoyed smoking weed and doing crack. My algebra teacher was having an online affair. She would teach for about 5 minutes and then tell us to read to ourselves and do our work while she typed away on her computer. One day she just didn't show up. Turns out she up and left in the middle of the night to move out to Ohio to be with her internet boyfriend. Pretty mild, but I grew up in a town of 700 people, so it was huge news. Also, our volleyball track coach sleeping with senior girls. There was even a fist fight between 2 girls over this. I didn't really pay much attention until I got into high school and joined track. He had me doing weird stretches when he was directly behind me while I was bent over. I was super innocent and fairly dumb. I knew it was creepy, but I just rolled with it, although I was uncomfortable. One of the boys on the track team I swore who hated me because he was always picking on me pulled me aside and told me what the coach was doing was perverted, and he was clearly excited the whole time. This kid went to the principal in my defense and the coach resigned that next year. I don't believe he was ever caught, but after he resigned I learned his wife was a former student of his and their relationship started while she was in high school. Science teacher was lying about being a soldier. Stolen valor. Came back from Afghanistan, but was actually in Colorado with his GF. He flipped out when someone I know asked him to name a friend who was Kaya. 3 or 4 years later it was revealed that he had been lying about his service record and job experience. We had a teacher in his 30s who was rumored to ask pretty graduating seniors to hang out in the last week of school, so technically he wasn't sleeping with students. Welp. He asked the wrong girl, and she told everyone. There was this weird closet built into the middle of the hallway, yep, the middle. so you had to walk around a giant block of a closet, but the door was always locked. Every morning before the bell rang, we'd meet up by the closet block because it was close to our lockers. The rumor was that it was full of mold because our school was underfunded and gross, but I figured it was just janitorial supplies. I had never seen a janitor go in there, but why would they leave a closet full of mold? Plus, there was already a room that was full of mold. The old boiler room, which was underground and hadn't been used in decades. Then one day, the door was unlocked. Mold. So much mold. Multiple stacks of German textbooks were rotting inside this closet. The pages were wavy and stuck together, and the whole thing was covered in black spots with a white dust on top. The closer you got to the bottom of the stack, the more uniform the books became. They had literally melted together and dried. Lord knows how many times. I simply closed the door and said, "Well guys, I guess this is why we only have Spanish as our foreign language." Too long didn't read. Weird closet full of mold that was dealt with by being locked all the time. The principal was a member of the mob. The hot Spanish teacher was doinking all the senior boys. Not a conspiracy, but there was once an absolutely massive turd in the girls' bathroom at my high school. It started a hysteria, and pretty soon there was a line of people going in and out of the bathroom to get a glimpse of the thing. To this day, I still wonder who made that giant turd. That the reason a long-time sub was let go because she shit herself during a class when she lost her shit. Both ways. Conspiracy only lasted until that summer. It was true. Word took forever to get out because 70% of the class didn't show up to begin with. I must say I was impressed with those involved staying tight-lipped some 7 months. Lead in the water. Our high school tap water was dark brown, and we weren't allowed to bring our own water bottles or get filtered water from the cafeteria without paying $3. We sent hundreds of emails asking the school board to look into it, but they said it was fine. In my senior year, a student did a science fair project on the illegal amount of lead in the tap water, forcing the school to investigate and fix all the taps. Security guard was setting the fires for job security and blaming it on kids. When I was in 9th grade, my friend told me there were 2 teachers with funny names. One was Mr. Neck, which I knew. The other was Mr. Head, and his first name was Richard. I told her to shut up. It's probably a stupid rumor. Like the rumor there's a pool on the 3rd floor. No parent would be cruel enough to name their kid that. The next year, Mr. Richard Head was my biology teacher. He was a nice guy. I absolutely adored him. His wife worked in the office. She was great too. I ended up working with his stepdaughter a few summers later. She told me he was Richard Head III. Each year the senior French class, or the ones who could afford it, took a trip to Paris. One year, maybe like 8ish years, before I got there, one of the girls on the trip snuck out of the hotel they were all staying in to meet a guy. Nobody ever saw her again. I always thought it was just some quasi-urban legend, but lo and behold, the French teacher who was on the trip, and still teaching when I was at the school, verified it one day. Honestly, best case scenario is she was murdered that night. I shudder to think of the alternatives. There were rumors about a music teacher and a student, but they were both pretty dramatic people and did very little to dismiss the talk. So half the school wanted to believe it for the salacious thrill and half just waved it off as attention seeking and shit talking. Teacher got canned without explanation. Most of us just figured it was budget related. A math teacher filled in on his music theater roles. Years later I randomly caught up with the student, and she said the rumors were true. She freaked out and tried to end things to shake off the reputation. And eventually the teacher showed up trashed and naked on her family's front lawn in the rain, yelling out for her. Not my school, but one where my friend taught. The superintendent's daughter got a job at the high school. This was a job that had about 300 applicants, but magically, she got it. Anyway, there were rumors of this teacher, who was 22 at the time, having an inappropriate relationship with one of her male students. For most of the year it was just flirting and nothing beyond that. But starting in April they began having sex and the students started telling everyone about it. You can guess how that ended. Teacher fired and the superintendent resigned because of health reasons over the summer. That a principal was spending money on her private lunches while we froze because the heating was out for months in 20°C winter. I don't know who blew the whistle, but she was arrested soon. And we got them heating fixed. Our cheerleading coach health teacher was embezzling funds from the cheerleading team. The wild part was that when this was found out, she wasn't even fired. They just took her off the cheerleading team and let her keep being a teacher. Classmate's mom, the hot biology teacher, was cheating on her husband with the cool English teacher. She was. The maths teacher who liked to rub your bra straps was in fact a nonce. We were told by our school that we were having a merger with our rival school in an attempt to give the students a better chance, which caused a lot of issues transferring credits wise and also caused a lot of teachers to get laid off. But in actuality the superintendent got a deal to sell the school's land for a huge sum of money, only for the deal to fall through, and now the old school is currently abandoned and will probably get bought for probably not even a fraction of the original price, all cause they got greedy. We had an English teacher in her 50s who was conventionally unattractive, long and managed grey hair, outdated ill-fitting clothes, etc. Very overweight. We actually had a horrible nickname for her affront, but because her stomach looked like a large butt, there was a rumor that she used to be a gorgeous model before having a bunch of kids and letting herself go. Well, it turned out to be true. We found pictures of her in the library's old yearbooks from 30+ years prior. It actually showed pictures of her winning prom queen and local beauty pageants. It was insane to us. There were two big conspiracies. One wholesome, one not. The first big conspiracy was that a teacher was dating a freshman student's mom. It turned out that part way through freshman year she was diagnosed with cancer. The teacher and her mom were passing friends, and the teacher had amazing private insurance. Long story short, the teacher and mom somewhat casually committed fraud by marrying for his insurance, then getting divorced after she got a clean bill of health. But the girl had amazing medical care and graduated with honors. So, we just left it at conspiracy. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit universe,